Last game, day one, battle for Atlantis. We had Stanford taking on Arkansas in maybe like the ugliest close game of Feast Week. I don't want to say it was a good game, but it had some exciting moments. Arkansas came away victorious 77-74 in double overtime. Connor, you're with your in-laws. It's Thanksgiving week. Wine is flowing. You said that you felt like you needed a couple glasses of wine to watch this game. Why was that? What were your big takeaways from
It
this
was
one?
it was an endless glass of wine, equal only to the endless amount of bricks and the endless turnovers that it seemed that both teams had, which was great. Like the best part about this game is that both teams were playing ugly basketball. Because the worst thing is when one team is playing ugly and the other team is playing clean. At
Mhm.
least this one, it was, watching a train wreck on both ends of the court. Um, but man, I know we previewed it and we were talking about how, you know, Arkansas had struggled uh offensively, but their defense, we know what it could be. And that was almost kind of what happened in this game. Like
Uh-huh.
Arkansas's offense was ugly, and they made Stanford's offense, which had been good all year so
Mm-hmm.
far. I think Stanford had 19 turnovers
Yep.
in that game. Like it was just, and granted, it was a double overtime game, so you're extending it. But and the refs let them play
Mm-hmm.
also. Like 46 fouls is a lot, but not a lot for a game and a half, essentially, or whatever, a game
Right.
and a quarter, whatever,
Right.
whatever two
Right.
overtimes equals. But um, they let them play. They let them get physical. I think only three players fouled out in that game. But man, they couldn't make a three on either end of the floor. Stanford was a little bit better, but Stanford's always been this season at least a little bit better. Uh, but yeah, it was the what 32 total turnovers or whatever it was. Just I am not upset that it ended.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. And I wouldn't say, again, we've talked about Arkansas. Is this like how is Musselman approaching this tournament? Is he gonna shorten the rotation? Is he gonna get his guys playing closer to what they'll look like come January? Is he going to accelerate that learning curve a little bit because it is one of these big non-conference tournaments? I don't know if I have any clearer of an answer to that question. I think you look at his rotation tonight, and I mean, I think it's safe to say he played his best players. Trayvon Brazil, Tremont Mark, those guys were on the court. Caleb Battle, those guys were on the court a lot. L. Ellis kind of got frozen out a little bit, um, which, yeah, is sort of typical of Musselman to shorten his rotation as the season goes on. But it was just like such an ugly game that in some ways, I still can't believe that Stanford sort of choked it. And, it seems like it was emblematic of really the Stanford era under Jared Hass. You get these good players, guys with promise, that are good enough to make you think that they're going to turn things around, or that they're going to get the program back to being an NCAA tournament team, that they're going to be able to pull off a bigger name upset or pull off a marquee win. And they just fell short. I feel like I've seen this game numerous times, whether it was Zaire Williams at Stanford or Harrison Ingram at Stanford, or uh, the point guard who was one and done, who's slipping my mind, from Minnesota. What was that dude's name?
Oh,
Tyrell Terrier,
yeah.
Tyrell something.
Geez. Yeah. Um,
I wonder if there is like the three Stanford fans in the world. Drop in the comments who were the name that we're forgetting.
yeah, Tyrell Terry.
Tyrell
Yeah.
Terry. Okay, great. But yeah, you see that with a guy even like Stojakovic, who's the best player on this team, or maybe not best right now, but the most pro potential. He took 6 shots in a game where the offense really froze out down the stretch when they, I think, blew a 6 or 7 point lead. Spencer Jones as well. He ended up with 27 points, but after he hit 20, it seemed like those last 7 points were just a grind to get by. Missed a lot of free throws. Like it was classic. I mean, Jared Bynum game of 5 for 16 from the field with a couple splash plays mixed in. Uh, yeah, I feel like we've seen this script with Stanford probably 10 plus times over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and uh, you mentioned L. Ellis getting frozen out. And at first I thought, maybe we missed an injury. Um, because like I couldn't understand, and maybe I did miss an injury. I don't know, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me why he wasn't playing, because he hasn't been playing poorly.
Mm-hmm.
I know heading into that UNC Greensboro game, he had something like 11, 15 assists to like 4 turnovers or something like that on the
Mm-hmm.
season. Maybe it was just Musselman sending a message after the UNC Greensboro game where he scored efficiently, but he was 0 assists, 4 fouls, 4 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that was Musselman just saying you need to be the point guard that we can rely on off the bench.
Right.
But like that confused me, because you come into this game and yeah, Ellis isn't the best player on this team, and you're going to lean on guys like Devo Davis to be your primary guards in the starting lineup. But to go from averaging mid to high 20s per game to 6 minutes in a double overtime game,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a game where, no one can hit a shot. That was the biggest shocker to me, like the most puzzling decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It seems like if any game would be an L. Ellis type game, like throw him out there and see if he can get something going. I thought Caleb Battle had a really rough game as well. I do want to mention, we've hit on some of Arkansas' struggles in this game. Trayvon Brazil was awesome. He missed some
Yeah.
easy shots. He still was 3 for 12 from the field, but what he did on the glass was game changing. It swung it in Arkansas's favor. On top of it, sorry, as I'm talking about this, I'm like, man, there was a bunch of missed dunks in this game. It wasn't just Brazil. I know Leighton Blocker missed a dunk. Like they were smoking layups left and right, but Brazil did come up clutch down the stretch. He hit that 3, had some other big buckets late in the game or big free throws. So, as he continues to work his way back to what I presume to be like full health from his ACL tear, Arkansas is going to need him. They need a presence down low who can swing a game with his athleticism, who can shore up the defense. Because again, at the start of the second half, when Stanford pulled away a little bit, I thought their defense looked just as porous as it did against Old Dominion and as it did against Greensboro. Stanford was getting in the lane at will. And granted, I think Brazil played a big role in sort of shoring it up toward the end of the game when they were able to get string together some stops over probably like the last 10 minutes of that second half and continue
Yeah,
overtime.
and Chandler Lawson also played really well down
Mm-hmm.
low. A dozen boards, I think, or just over a dozen boards. 5 blocks. He was the only player on either team to block a shot in this game. He had
Huh.
5 blocks. There was not a single other block shot in this game, which was very interesting.
Huh. That is an interesting stat. Good for Chandler.
And yeah, and he was an efficient scorer
Mm-hmm.
without having to be, high volume. He was 4 of 7 from the floor. He just did the dirty work that I think in a game like this, you really need that guy who's just willing to get down and dirty with the game. And that was Chandler Lawson. He had 4 fouls, so it wasn't like the blocks came out of nowhere, right? He was
Mm-hmm.
playing very physically.
Right.
But yeah, it was an interesting game, to say the least. I mean, they had, I said, 32 combined turnovers. Only 13 of those were steals.
Hmm.
They were just,
And
whether it's tough,
the floor
whether
in
it was tough.
Atlantis is slippery. I swear, like
Yeah,
people have been sliding all over the floor in all these
there,
games
there's been an
today.
there's been an issue with, I mean, because even, and I know this isn't a Maui, but like even the Maui Invitational, it seems like people have been having issues with the ball being slick.
Mm-hmm.
I know you saw at the end of that Marquette game, like the ball, Fletcher Lawyer had them wipe off the ball on an inbounds pass, and it was like a couple of possessions after he
Right.
let a ball slip through his hands. So, but yeah, I we'll see what the next day brings.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Arkansas is moving on, which is good for them. Because I think they're going to lose a game, whether they went to the consolation bracket or stayed in the winners bracket. They were bound to lose a game, and probably the next game in their slate. And I think having it be in the winners bracket, getting a win over a Stanford team that's probably not a tournament team, was very important for this Arkansas team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully it's a cleaner game tomorrow against Memphis. I have a tough time seeing them get the win. Just again, looking at Trevon Brazil, I mean, he was great tonight, played 46 minutes. Devo Davis played 45. Tremont Mark played 41. Like, three important pieces for this team who just got done with this physical slog, and they got to turn around again and play a Memphis team that, granted, they'll make their fair share of mistakes on offense, but they're going to play physical. They're going to play aggressive as well.